Good afternoon. Well, thank you very much for all the team at MMC, Martin, Fabian, and the rest of the crew for inviting me back to this event. It was great to be in Cologne last year. Obviously, very disappointing we can't all be together this year, but what a fantastic event to do virtually. It's really great format. So thanks all to the team. My name's Hugo Somersham Jones. I work in our partnerships team here at Google in Europe, focusing on our communications products and services. And I wanted to use the time with you today to talk through some of our business communications products that we have available in the market, live and ready to use for users across Europe. Really, with the objective of connecting users to the brands they love. So, as many of us know, and one of the reasons we're all here today is to acknowledge that the status quo regarding interactions with consumers and brands isn't working. If you think about your average week or average month, and the amount of time that we all spend as consumers and customers interacting with the utility company, the electricity firm, the mobile operator to renew our subscription or to get a device upgrade. We know we spend a lot of time doing that. On the average week, we have data points looking towards 10 to 20 minutes a week of our personal time is actually spent dealing on these sorts of service issues with enterprises. And 80%, above 80% of users and customers feel that it's difficult to communicate with businesses. So it's not working on the consumer side as well as it should. And on the business side, I'm sure many of our sessions today will circle around this theme of, servicing customers is damn expensive. A huge amount of spend is made, and a huge amount of volume is handled, despite all the investments in digital over the past 20 years. From self-service portals to online chat to call deflection technologies in the IVR, people, even if they use these tools, are still resorting to the call center and still picking up the phone and using that time. So this is where we are introducing our Business Connections suite. I want to run through three areas or three product sets within our Business Connections suite. And the objective of this set of technologies is to meet people where they are, not to force them into somewhere new in order to communicate with one of their favorite brands. And we'll start with business messages, which is predominantly a user-initiated experience. And in the second half of our session, I'll touch and deep dive into verified SMS and RCS Business Messaging, which is predominantly a business-initiated comms channel at the moment. So, starting with business messages, we see this as an extension to search, essentially, and it's looking solely at the Google, the very wide Google set of properties and assets we have online and on mobile, to extend messaging into these surfaces. I think, as we all know, being on hold and spending time listening to IVR music is not time well spent. I personally would much rather spend my time with my 3.5-year-old daughter and my 9-month-old son than I would listening to previous, pop number ones being played down a low-grade telephony channel into my ear. We have better things to do than sit on hold. And at Google, we're helping rather, businesses grow dramatically.
Sorry, I don't know how to help with that.
So we have 150 million businesses currently listed on our Google Maps product. We're driving somewhere in the order of 3 billion connections between users and brands on a monthly basis. Now, if you do the maths on that, you roughly equate that to creation of around 330 odd billion dollars worth of economic activity to over around 1.5 million businesses annually. So these are some really big numbers, and we are having as a wider organisation, a huge impact in connecting users to brands. And on the user side, we know people are searching more than ever for products and services that are around them, and this is really interesting. Even comparing to data from 2016, where we'd all argue, well, the iPhone's been around for 9 years, almost 10 years. Mobility isn't a new topic. Well, since just 2016, so the last 4 years, we've seen a 9x growth in people using search terms of XYZ near me, restaurants near me, cinemas near me. So this searching paradigm is dramatically growing. But we still have this fundamental problem. Even with all the technology that we've been working on over the past 20 years in building search and extending that to business listings and extending that into maps, is we are still missing connections, and consumers are spending way too much time on hold. I still can't believe the statistic of, on average, roughly, an average user in their life will spend 43 days listening to hold music in an IVR. I mean, that is genuinely preposterous. and we very much want to change that. I certainly do for my own sake, if nothing else. When you speak to consumers and we talk about how, or ask them how they want to communicate with a brand, through what technology surface, and would they invest time in downloading an app, for example, the wide majority, like over 60% of people, will say, I wouldn't put that much effort into downloading an application. As we all know, we typically use roughly 5 apps on our phone in the majority of our time spent in our devices, and the cost of user acquisition, typically for service or infrequent transactions for certain brands and enterprises, it's just not pragmatic. Despite all the investment over the last 10 years in building out mobile first strategies and mobile care, dedicated apps, consumers aren't prepared to put in that much work. And on the brand side, the information that the average user needs actually is pretty hard to codify. Even from our perspective at Google, where we index the web, we also know there's a huge amount of data and crucial answers to questions in unstructured content. Now, we obviously have tried to index that, and we try our best to use NLP and sophisticated algorithms to summarize that data and to surface it within a number of our product sets, but that is still a really hard problem. And then we have the unpublished web, as we call it, which is really the human web, which is unindexable by us right now, is in our minds, it's in our consciousness, and this is where you need people for sales and service and a meaningful branded experience with an organization. There is a huge amount of value in human connections and having conversations and having a dialogue, with a human, and we need to bridge a gap between these two things to really help users solve their queries. And this is what Google Business Messages really aims to do. It is extending search to provide users an opportunity to interact with a human, or light automated experience that could get them to a human as fast as possible, rather than hitting the call button and driving yet more calls into the contact center. So this is currently live today in 3 key experiences within our web services. So you'll see this in any browser, Google search or Google query. So first of all, we have local search, where you're looking for a business. Here we have Super Office. This is tied to their specific business listing that is documented in Google. And we've added this message me button right next to the call button, prominently displayed within the business listing. We also have an option to include this within a business's or website's organic search results. So this is an unpaid search query, and if the business or enterprise has business messages activated, we will show a very prominent piece of real estate here, with a call to action to message, and then with some nice, detailed insights around typical response times to set expectations on how fast that business will get back to you. And then answer cards, which have become hugely popular by many users, myself included, where you're trying to track down a business customer services number that perhaps they've tried to embed far too far down their website hierarchy, hidden away there. We're surfacing those up in answer cards, and where we're providing contact details for a particular business and providing their phone number here. If that business has opted into business messaging as well, we will provide a nice call to action here to message along with the typical response time to set expectations of that experience and how quickly that business will come back to you. So once you're in a business message, what does it feel like? It's not just a web chat, and that's, I think, really important thing to call out here. We've done a lot of research over the last couple of years in multiple messaging products, and have settled really on the conclusion that the richer, the more appified the experience can be, the better the outcomes. So we have built-in rich features, not just rich media and rich web links that also display pictures and content along with the URL themselves and previews, but also things like rich carousels, chips, which are quick call to actions, and of course photos. So when used in this experience here, there's a made-up hotel, Park House Hotel here. We know from a number of campaigns that having rich carousel-like features where you can drive upgrades, you can create an opportunity for users to explore your portfolio or your product set or the experiences you offer as a brand. The better the business outcome from these campaigns. And when we talk to consumers about their experience here, we know that consumer trust and CSAT scores are averaging really nicely, well over the 80%. And this is really by being transparent around the service and the experience you're going to receive. So by showing average wait times, for example, on the agent, to set expectations before the users entered into that experience is super important. And if you're automating, automation absolutely has a play here. Of course, chatbots for simple tasks, repeated transactions that multiple users do are totally appropriate. But we have to also, as an industry within messaging, understand that when chatbots aren't appropriate, we need to exit that experience as fast as possible and get that user in front of a human agent. So how does this work? I guess as an ecosystem, a quick high-level run through. As I say, we offer this message button in this example here on our business listings page. This is something that is a cross-platform experience. We have this on iOS, we have this on Android. We're agnostic to operating system here, so the reach on this is global. It is the mobile phone community of smartphones today. So this is super high penetration across certainly the whole of Europe, and very dominant in Africa and Asia as well. We set up an API and offer that to our messaging partners, who then plug into brands and can either plug that into live agent experiences that are already available in contact centers, extending web chat essentially, as well as bot and automation platforms, or a hybrid of the two. And from the results we see, this is a good example from Dish in the US. Not only are we solving the user's problem here by reducing average handling times and increasing CSAT scores. We're also solving really important metrics for the business. Improvement of resolution rate of 21% is a meaningful metric for an organisation like Dish. So it's interesting to see that these sorts of solutions benefit both players, and I think that's where we have to be with these new messaging technologies. Is not just solving the brand's problem, right, and bringing down either cost of running a service or increasing sales, but also solve for consumers at the same time. It has to be a balanced equation. We've got about 100 partners now signed up into our business messages program. If anyone, of course, at the event here is interested and is not already signed up, please drop me an email. My contact details at the end of the session, and we can talk about onboarding you as a partner. And through those 100 partners, we're now working with over 600 brands in various stages of launch readiness, many of whom are now already live. And I'll run through a few examples of some of those brands right now. So a lovely example here is Levi's in the US. They have an automated chatbot here that you can see offering a number of chips, find products, find a store, see promotions, or track an order. So a real wide range of options here in the life cycle of a customer, both from finding products to tracking a specific order. There's a simple product discovery experience here, which then links off and deep links you straight into that product page within Levi's existing e-commerce platform to execute an order, if that's what you wanted, or indeed, if you're just looking for your nearest Levi's and you've decided not to use Google Maps, which you don't have to use, of course, you can find a local store and get directions, etc., straight in the thread of the message experience itself. Another great example here is a different category, but with Vodafone in the UK. We have a great app with them, integration for their Vodafone support, so you can chat with a live agent directly from the answers card that we provide in Google Search, as well as some more automated experiences contacting Vodafone generically or centrally through an automated bot they have live on the platform. And here's just another set of high-level stats from some of our US early adopters. Really good response rates, high CSAT scores, and very positive feedback from a wide range of industries, from retail through to the cinema industry, etc. So that's really what I wanted to touch on around the user-initiated messaging experience that we're currently offering today. And now I wanted to kind of turn our attention more to the business-initiated experiences and product sets that we're offering the industry and working with a number of partners on bringing to life. I think we'll all acknowledge that SMS, which is the traditional business-initiated messaging experience, it hasn't changed much through 20 years. And there's a lot about that experience which is suboptimal, both for users and for brands. I mean, thinking about the UX itself, we don't have link previews or imagery. It's difficult to have a brand and to articulate your brand values or logo. Verification and encryption and security are somewhat lacking, and you don't know whether a message is kosher or not if it's coming from a shortcode. And it's not widely adopted as an easy way of communicating conversationally with users. It's not, despite all the great AI we have, I don't, as a consumer, get many experiences where I'm having an AI generated chatbot through SMS. And we have a really big problem with fraud, and we all know that SMS, does have challenges with regards to phishing and smishing and social engineering that create major fraud problems. And when you speak to consumers, absolutely want a two-way dialogue with businesses, a dialogue that's personalised, contextual, and interactive. And that goes just as much for the business messaging conversation we were having before, a user initiated experience, as much as it does with a business initiated experience. So we have an application that we have been working very hard with the industry on growing the adoption of, which is Android messages. This is the carrier default application that is installed on the wide majority of Android phones today. And not only does it, obviously we're very focused on Google creating a great consumer experience for our users. The focus of Android messaging is also to revolutionize and modernize business consumer messaging or business initiated messaging, known in the industry as A2P. Now this is really broken into two specific products, which has some commonality that I'd like to walk through briefly. The first is verified SMS. This is bringing additional security to the existing SMS channel, and a more advanced version of modern messaging, Rcs Business Messaging, which has fully interactive experiences, much richer, and gives far superior metrics than SMS ever could. So this leaves a kind of a landscape where brands have three options to go down. The regular SMS that everybody's been sending for a while, which is just messaging. It does what it says on the tin. It is a message. It's 160 characters, and that's it. With verified SMS, what we're doing is we're adding branding and a verification experience to the SMS. We're providing the option for the brand of deep linking, link previews, and we're giving better metrics around engagement. So it is bringing SMS up to par in a much more secure manner for 2021, 2020 at least. And that's where, beyond that, is RCS Business Messaging. And that's where we're introducing chips, carousels, delivery reports, and read receipts, so that the brand knows how many exact messages were successfully delivered to devices and exactly how many of those were in turn read. And then additional features, like chips and quick actions from the app, embedded within the experience. So verified SMS itself, as I say here, we use this a lot, particularly at Google, for our huge volume of two-factor authentication notifications. What was last year a regular SMS, shown here on the left-hand side of the screen, is now going out to our users who are requesting a password reset, for example, or just logging into their account, or whatever that two-factor authentication experience is. We have a great branded experience that hits the phone and clearly articulates exactly who the sender is. It's a verified sender, with a secure shield annotated to the logo, and it is a verified, credible entity. And then with the deep links, depending on the use case here, this is a Google account help scenario. We're actually popping the brand into the messaging thread and giving a much better articulation of who that sender is, and that sender is an authentic sender. And that's really important when you're thinking about the financial services industry, where you absolutely need to give users a sense of trust and assurance that you are who you say you are. In this case, Chase Bank, you have a logo, you have an authenticated and accredited logo there, that you are verified as a business, that you're not a rogue actor. And as I said before, you can showcase your brand, so there's millions of users per month which you are sending currently maybe a low value touch point. You can turn that into a much more branded experience. And we know that from just looking at metrics from our own first party or Google pin traffic that we send to users, we're getting better open rates through this experience. So not only is it more secure, not only are users more comfortable, we know that taking action, which is the most important thing, right, off the back of these notifications, is much higher with the verified SMS experience compared to regular SMS. So how does it work? Super simple.
Sorry, I don't know how
We
to help with
we operate verified SMS on a per message basis. The customer receives a message from a business. We do a quick hash comparison to check that it is coming from a verified business. We then pop that in real time straight onto the device. So all that happens in a fraction of a second from the customer receiving an SMS. But it's a very simple method and it's working really, really well across the industry. So that's verified SMS. To finish off here, wanted to touch on RCS Business Messaging, which is really the next evolution of SMS. It's here to replace SMS and move us into a much more modern messaging experience. So what is RCS Business Messaging? How would we describe it? I think a good analogy is really talking as it's a confluence of three key technologies. SMS, which is wonderfully universal, everybody's used to it, it's very native, it's immediate, and it's crucially simple. We're then taking the best bits of email, where they're quick to read, we have rich media, and you can have a really nicely branded experience. Look at the newsletter business that is built in email. Entire companies are built on the simple newsletter. And then thirdly, but not lastly, is the last 10 years of investments in mobile applications and the richness that those can offer is taking the best of those. So the ability to brand, but as well the fluidity of carousels and tactile imagery, it is an important piece of the puzzle that we're trying to bring to life. So that's how we think about RCS Business Messaging, is bringing the best of these two channels into a messaging experience. And here's an example, a made-up carrier here, or mobile operator, of what that looks like. So we have trusted branding at the top, very similar to verified SMS, where you have the brand's logo, the name, and the shield here, which is crucial, giving the user real assurance that that brand is who they say they are. We then have nice rich media in here inserted. Here's an image of data usage and cool minutes left. And then at the bottom we have chips, where we have these essentially time-saving actions where you can just hit account information, and the next message back from the brand will be your account information shared in a really nicely pictorial form, and you get much better metrics. We know when users are reading these and interacting them in real time, so that the metrics you can get from the channel, from the brand side, is far more powerful than we can do today with SMS or verified SMS. So we see much higher engagement. When we speak to consumers who have used RCS and experienced the branded campaign, we know that about 80% of consumers find that appealing, and that 74% say that RCS make them more likely to communicate with brands. And that last data point is really important. Those sorts of customer feedback, where a channel is making them more likely to interact, completely indicates reduction of friction. We are removing that friction. We're making conversation and communication more fluid, and that's what's going to drive either better CSAT scores or indeed higher sales from brands running campaigns. We also know it's more valuable. We get higher click-through rates and much higher delivery rates than SMS, and the industry, through messaging partners and aggregators, can come up with new business models here, where we're paying on delivery. We're not paying on the message being sent. We're paying on the certainty of it being delivered. And if a message isn't delivered, we know about it, and the brand doesn't have to pay. RCS is also much more secure than SMS. I won't go into detail, but in short, you can't hack it very easily. The branded A to P channel is separated from the rest of the ecosystem. So we know when a business is using RCS, and we know where a consumer is using RCS. That delineation doesn't exist in SMS today. So this new form of messaging really makes it much more secure, both for consumers and for brands, knowing that the channel is clearly delineated from other traffic types. As I said before, we get much better metrics with RCS, accurate delivery receipts, and read receipts with an open time associated to them as well. And for the brands that have adopted RCS in the recent months, we're getting really exciting feedback on metrics. So Comex from Latin America, some simple e-commerce use cases they're testing there. We're seeing 10x higher click-through rates. That's not 10% increase. That's 10 times the click-through rates, and huge shifts. Double-digit, 2x odd increase rather in revenue. Similar to Subway, this is a well-known campaign. Great increase in uptake in promotional offers. And CFE, this is another Latin American example. There's a power company there. Traditional notifications where they're literally picking up the text they send as SMS, they're sending it as an RCS business message, but they're adding some media. They have the brand in the thread. They're seeing a 200% increase in just opening of the notifications that they're sending. So that's not creating a new use case. That is literally picking up what you're doing today, making it richer, getting better brand attribution, and just from those changes, we know that consumers are engaging with that content much more. So in 2021, RCS is going to be fully globally available. We're working very hard on expanding our partner ecosystem and our coverage. We pretty much covered the globe already today, but this will really come to fruition at the start of 21. And a lot of these countries are now open for business with RCS business messaging, including Germany. Germany, the 3 large operators here, all up and running. They're open for business, and if people are interested in trialing some of these technology, particularly RCS business messaging, and wanting to find how it could work for them, I do encourage you to reach out to your local aggregator, or indeed one of the big mobile operators in Germany, or indeed email me and I can pass you on, and see how maybe RCS can work for you as a messaging partner, or indeed a brand. So that's me. We've covered a lot of content in what was a fairly short period of time. That's our business connections suite here with business messages, user-initiated messaging as an extension of search, and verified SMS and RCS business messaging, which is more of a business-initiated communication channel today. Thank you for the time. I hope that was useful. If you want to find more, you've got my contact details here on the screen, and no doubt I've been answering questions as this session's been played via the WhatsApp channel, which is fantastic to try out here at MMC. It's an interesting trial. I'm keen to see how it's all worked. I hope you have a good rest of the day, and thank you for the time.